video tutorial, I will show you how to sew an invisible zipper, especially concentrating on matching seams or patterns. We will be working with a mock-up, and to begin with you will have your front and back piece. I have inserted a red panel in the centre of this in order to show it as a seam line or pattern. You will need a zipper. This will be invisible and as long as your opening, and 2 lengths of interfacing cut on the straight of grain longer than your zip. To begin, we will place the interfacing on the outside edge on the wrong side of the front and back piece. When you press, make sure you lift the iron and move to the next location rather than sliding the iron over the fabric. Repeat this for both sides. This will add structure to your fabric and prevent wrinkling in the end. Next, we want to look at aligning the seams. This will usually be a waistband or a pattern of your front and back pieces where they need to match. Placing them right side together, we need to make them match at the seam line, not the edge. Your seam allowance needs to be marked on, in this case it is at 5/8 inches. This is the location where we need to make the lines match. To do this, place your pin in the seam joint at this location and feel the back so that you go through the same place on the other piece. This can be tricky and sometimes your fabric will wrinkle, but just keep doing it until you get a smooth finish. Once you have matched the seam lines, you can match other notches on your pattern along the edge. Before taking it to your machine, check that these point match by folding back the fabric. At the machine, increase your stitch length to a high setting. We are going to sew at the 5/8 seam allowance down the edge of this seam. Remember not to sew over any pins. We do not want to backstitch at the beginning and end of this seam. Now we examine our seam to see if our pattern matches. The top is perfect, but the bottom is offline, and this would show in your end garment. This is why we use the long stitch length. We can now unpick this section quite easily with a seam ripper and adjust. You don't normally have to do more than a few inches either side of the seam. We want to realign the fabric again, as we did at the beginning, with a pin. You can repeat this process as many times as you want, taking it back to the machine with a long stitch and then examining it once you remove it. Once you are happy, take this back to your ironing board and press open the seam. It's a good time to finish the raw edges. I am using an overlocker, but you can use pinking shears or a zigzag stitch on your regular machine. Repeat for both sides. I like to press again after overlocking to work out any tension the thread has added. Next we prepare our zip. Unzip it and take your iron and uncurl the teeth from the centre. This is to allow you to stitch closer to the teeth, and there is less chance of you being able to see your zipper in your end garment. Repeat this for both sides, but don't get too close to the plastic teeth as your iron can melt it. We are now going to attach the zipper to our prepared pieces. First, we need to mark the location of the zipper. In this mock-up, I am pretending that this is a waist seam, so the top section will attach to a facing or a waistband, and the bottom would be your skirt seam or dress seam. You need to look at your pattern to work out where this zipper location is and mark it. To take this back to the machine now and make this area a permanent stitch. Reduce the stitch length to your regular 2.5 and backstitch at the beginning and end of this stitch. This would obviously go on to your hem on a regular piece and not a mock-up. Stitch over the previous stitching marks. Replace your zipper and pin it in place, pinning only the seam allowance. You don't want to catch any of the front facing of the fabric. When working with your zip, make sure the teeth are on the centre of the seam. Do it for the other side, checking as you go. Now, to help hold it in place, it's easier to work with your zip at your machine with no pins. So at this point, I like to baste stitch in place my zip, removing the pins as I go. I just find this easier to work under the machine. You can skip this step if you prefer. Tie off at the end and repeat for the other side. Again, make sure you're only stitching the seam allowance and not catching any of the front fabric. We're going to stitch along here and along here, placing your fabric like this under your machine. First, we need to put on our zipper feet. Starting with the regular zipper foot, attach this to your machine. Then stitch down one side from the top of the zipper to the bottom. This is to anchor the zip in place, similar to your basting stitches, but permanently. Then swap over and do the other side, once again working from the top of the zipper down to the bottom. Do not change direction, as this can create tension in your final garment. Now we will undo the seam down to the marked point. Use a seam unripper, but you will find you will hit resistance as you reach your back stitches on your regular length stitches done earlier. Just work slowly and check you're not going over the end of your zipper. Pick away any loose threads, as these can become tangled in your stitches. Check your zip opens and shuts without any resistance and that you are happy with placement. Now swap to your invisible zipper foot and again working from the top of the zipper down, use your fingers to uncurl the teeth so you are stitching as close as possible to the teeth without catching them. Remember to remove any threads left over. This line should be just short of the 5/8 seam allowance line. Work as close as possible as you can to the zipper in its fully open position. Snip all threads and then repeat for the other side of the zipper. Again, use your fingers to uncurl the teeth as you work. If you find once you have completed this step that you can still see your zipper, you can repeat this process as many times as you want, working closer to the zipper teeth. Bring it to your iron and press this seam, removing any wrinkles. As you can see, there is no zipper visible. Test your zipper to check there are no catches. It's not uncommon to find you have a little bit of resistance when crossing a seam. You now have a perfect zip with seams matching. That is neat from the inside. You can now remove any basting stitches if you wish and cut away any thread. If you have liked this tutorial and would like to learn more, please like and subscribe to hear notification of new tutorials posted on this channel. Thank you for watching. Happy sewing!